So I'm just going to tell you about references. This is the second part of my talk. Um, okay, let's see where it goes, because this is could be a very long talk, but I have not made it so, because a lot you can't tell everything in a this thing. So I'm just going to run through a bit of the terminology, the principles, what needs a reference, styles, and a little bit of tips. So what is referencing? So it is a standardized way of acknowledging the sources of information. That is the most important thing. Standardized way of acknowledging the sources of information and ideas that you have used in your thesis, which allows the sources to be identified. This is the main thing to say what is referencing. So what is a bibliographical reference? What do we mean when we say this is a reference? A reference is a set of data or elements which describe a document or part of a document and is sufficiently precise and detailed to enable a potential reader to identify and locate it. So you have what you write as a reference is nothing but a set of data or elements, and this describes the document so that somebody else who wants to read it can locate it. That is the main idea of that is a definition of a bibliographical reference. So a typical reference citation should have three things. It should identify the source precisely, it should describe it sufficiently, and it should guide the readers adequately if they wish to obtain the document. So it should identify the source precisely and give enough description so that a reader can identify and obtain that document. So a little bit of terminology. This is mainly for the residents who have joined us. The first term which I want you to use is this one. That just hold on. The first term which I want to this thing is this citing. Citing means we are going to acknowledge within the text the documents from which we have obtained the information. So you are writing a text, inside you will put 1, 2, or if you are using Vancouver, so that is citing. Then you have bibliography. Bibliography means the list of publications you have consulted for your thesis of book. Generally, we don't use the term bibliography because bibliography is doesn't mean that you have used all those elements into your thesis, but you might have read much more. So bibliography is larger than the list of references. So reference is what we are writing at the end, that description of the document, and list of references is the list which you put in the end of your thesis. Okay. So these are the terminologies which you need to know. So when you're citing references, there are two components. One is how you acknowledge or cite the source in your text. So you're writing your text, within the text you're putting the reference. That is one. At the end of it, you will list all your sources, your list of references. If you are writing a bibliography, you can write a bibliography which will be more than what you have cited in your text. So there are two things. One is how you cite within your text. Number two, how you list your sources at the end. So these are the two components to citing references. The important thing is once you have selected a system or style, please stick to it. I have put a picture of a dog with some fleas because when dogs get these ticks, it's very difficult to remove. So like a tick or a flea sticks to a dog, you need to stick to your referencing style. Okay. So just to this is from a paper. You can see, so they will write like this, and this number 4 is how you are citing the reference within the text. So here you can see this, he has written nanoparticle formulated, comma, and there is a this he has cited the reference within the text. Okay. So here also you can see he cited the reference within the text. There is a full stop and this is a superscript of the thing. And then you list the references. So in any JM, they call it references. The list of references is just titled references and all the references are given here. So this is how you, so citing within the text and then listing it at the end. Now, one of the things which I couldn't explain later on, so I'm telling you now, generally the rule is when you're writing a reference, it should be single spaced. Okay, don't keep it as 1.5 or 2, it should be single space. But between two references, there should be a double space. Now, in a journal, it depends on the journal style. But generally, the rule is single space for the when you are listing the reference. Between two references, you should keep double space. That is the general rule. If you don't want to keep double space, you can keep 1.5, it's okay. But single space within the reference, between references, it is double space. So this is a reference because you may not be able to see. So this 4 and 5, I have just written out in large this thing. Most of you will be quite familiar with this kind of way in which they are writing. So these are the names of the authors in the Vancouver format. We have, this is the author's last name. These are his initials. For example, my name is Geetanjali Padmanabhan. So my name will be Padmanabhan, space G, then comma. If it is Rituparna Maiti, it will be Maiti, space R, comma. Okay. So you can see this person has a junior also, how it is written. So this is his surname, space, his initials, space, and then junior, comma, and then the other person. This is the title of the article, and you can see here they have used only sentence case, isn't it? Generally, when we are writing the title of papers, we tend to write in title case, as I mentioned in my first this thing, how to write a title. But in a reference, you can see that it should be in sentence case if you are using the Vancouver format. Okay. And then New England Journal of Medicine, NEJM. This is the abbreviation. This is the title of the journal, and abbreviated form of the title of the journal is given in Vancouver format, which is not there in the Harvard or APA format. So in English J Med, I'm sorry, once full stop is missing here. This is the journal title. Then this is the year of publication. And then this is the volume, and this is the location of pagination. Pagination, this is the first page, and then only the changed pages are written. Okay. So if it is 39 to 40 means here it will be 40 or 50, whatever. So this is the pagination. Now, this is how it is given in many journals which follow Vancouver format. However, if you want to put the full date of publication like this is also not wrong. Okay, you have the year, then you give the month, and then you give the date. This is the date of publication, and here next to the volume, you can also give the issue. Okay, so there are two ways in writing. I have just brought out this. There are many more formats, and I'm not going to go into the formats because there are some 75 different types. So there's no point in me, you just have to look at it and, keep looking like this. That's all. Just have to keep on comparing. So why do you cite references? Because giving credit to the originator, this is a very scholarly attitude. You enable others to identify and trace your sources, which you have used for your ideas. Somebody else has said that, then you're acknowledging them. And accurate references establishes your credibility as a careful researcher. I would put this very much top on the thing, because see, when you see very badly written references, it generally will irritate any good researcher. Okay. And it is also used in citation based analysis. So you please, because if you're citing someone else's reference in your paper, in your manuscript, that will be taken as a citation. So you need to be very careful when you're citing it. Then you need to, it also avoids plagiarism, because then you are very frank about somebody else has done a similar study before, you are acknowledging that study. And it allows readers to fully understand your work. So these are the reasons which they say why references should be cited. So referencing is important. Now, when I was a postgraduate, I used to think, why this referencing, as I told you about Professor Sachindran before, he used to be very, very meticulous about it. But generally what happens if your examiners, referees, editors, they infer that sloppy references may indicate sloppy work. And therefore, if you are a careful worker, please ensure that it is done carefully. Peers view it as being not critical or sharp. If your referencing is bad, peers will think this person is, can't even write a reference properly. That is how it is. So check, recheck, and re-recheck. I can spot a badly written reference, 100 miles away. And this one of the problems with this is this can be easily checked. So if somebody is saying that this reference is, before 31st March 2021, you can easily check it and show that this person is lying. Okay. So this is the problem with references. It can be easily checked and you know whether somebody is telling lies or is badly referencing, or, sometimes people are putting their names when they are actually not authors of it and so on. So it can be easily checked. What kind of information needs a reference? Don't give references for facts which are well known or textbook knowledge. You don't have to say that morphine is a narcotic analgesic or something like that. So you don't need to give references for textbook knowledge or well known things. But if it is something which is unusual, you will need to give a reference. Okay. So what are the steps? You need to record all details of the source of information. Ensure all the punctuation marks, spaces, names, everything is correct. Insert it in the appropriate place in the text and then include that. Include reference list that contains all in-text citations. So these are the steps when you're writing a paper. Previously, when we were doing it all manually, this was what we have done. Nowadays, it is not necessary. I'm sure all of you are familiar with using bibliographic software. Now, in case you are going to insert some textbook, make sure you have a photocopy of the first page of the book, because the first page will give you the publication, what was the date, whether it is the first edition, second edition, when it was brought out, all this. So if it is a book, you're using a book, or somewhere in a chapter in a book you are going to use, please also take photocopy the first page of the book as well as the chapter, the first page of the chapter. And if you are citing it from somewhere in the middle of the chapter, that too. This is very important. You must keep it, because otherwise sometimes you finish writing and you can't locate the book. So this is very important. Now, what are the sources that can be used? So you can use textbooks, you can use review articles, original papers from journals or from electronic sources. Any source which can be authenticated can be used for reference. Preferably don't use newspaper clippings, articles in press, or personal communication. Sometimes people use them in review articles, but if you are going to use it, you must have a signed personal communication. That's very important. If articles are in press, be careful. Don't use articles which are retracted. Do not use articles which are retracted. Avoid predatory journals. This is what the ICMJE are saying. Avoid predatory journals. It's very difficult at your level to know. And then last time somebody asked me whether we can use a review article for to write review of this thing. See, in ICMJE, they say that information in a review may not be authentic. So they say use the original paper, because when somebody is writing a review, what is that reviewer doing? That reviewer is giving his point of view on that subject. So therefore, this may not be the point of view or the what the original author wanted to say, or the author of the original paper wanted to say. So therefore, they say do not use a review. Instead of a review, use the original paper. This is for manuscripts. But generally, for thesis, we allow the use of a review. We allow the use of reviews. Okay. So, do your sources pass the CRAB test? Is it current? Is it relevant? Is it authoritative? Is it accurate? Is it purposeful? Current, if you are having, let's say 50 references, at least you should have about 1/3 should be current, or a little more, perhaps about 1/3 should be current, means it should be in the last 5 years. Okay, so it don't have all articles from 1970s and 1960s and not have anything current. So please make sure that you have current papers. They should be relevant to whatever you the topic you are writing. They should be from authoritative sources. We have already said this. So don't write from blogs or from newspaper articles, things like that. It should be accurate and it should be purposeful. Purposeful means that it should be this, whatever has been published, it should be a fact. No, it should be for science purposes. So it's not meant for selling a product or something like that. Okay. So never cite a reference you have not read. I have told this many times before also. So when you are citing a reference, make sure you have read the full paper. Read means read the full paper. So many people, what they do is they take references from another paper. They simply copy the paper without even having bothered to read it. Please don't do that. Be consistent and accurate. This is the hallmark of referencing, is consistency and accuracy. Read the full articles. Again, do not cite from abstracts. Reason being that many times the abstracts are not fully, do not reflect the same thing as the article. And then you file all the references, hard and soft copies. I usually insist on hard copies because many times people will say, Madam, we were having it on a pen drive. The pen drive got lost. We had it on a pen drive. I lost my pen drive. I dropped my hard drive and things like that. So some people say that we put it in the cloud and then it got corrupted. My computer got corrupted. Something, I forgot my password. Whole lot of, preferably whenever you find a good reference which you think you're going to include, take a full copy, print out and file it. That I would insist. As guides, we should insist on that. And if you, of course, if you file it, you'll know where it is, but never need it. But if you don't find it, you'll need it, but don't know where it is. Now, this is something which has become, fancy thing. People just keep collecting. We have hundreds, 200 papers, but there is no point in having 200 papers. You have 20 papers, but have read all the 20. Okay, so that is the most important thing. So the question is, how many references do I need? Use as much as you want. But it doesn't mean that if you're writing a thesis with 400 papers. I have personally asked a PhD student who had some 403 papers. I asked him, how many of this have you read? He said 25%. Then what's the point in having listed 403 papers? The idea is, if you list them in your references, you should have read it. That is the idea behind these references. So if you are writing a manuscript, you need to check with the instruction to authors, because the number varies with type of manuscript. In a review, it might be more. In a original paper, it might be something. If it is a short paper, it might be less, and so on. But a book, thesis, dissertation, normally there is no limit. But I won't say please have 100 or something like that. I would say between 50 to 75 references is about fine, because that is something which I will expect people to have read that many papers. So there are two major systems in medicine which we use for citing. Now there are a number of systems, but major ones, one is Harvard, or which is called APA, or American Physiological Association. And then we have the Vancouver format, which is a very common format. Most of the journals are now following the Vancouver format, even though a lot of the behavioral sciences, they still stick to this Harvard format. Please look into what are the differences, and you will be able to. Major difference, if you ask me, is this goes by the name, and the list is prepared alphabetically. Here the list is prepared in the order in which it appears, and then references are numbered, and the title of the journals are abbreviated here. In Harvard, the full title of the journal is given, and it is given in italics. So basically it is something like this. This is the last name of the author. These are the initials, GJ, full stop. This is the title of the paper. This is the journal, and then you have the year, This is the volume and this is the page, first page and the last page. So 9 means it is 2, 439 it ends. So whichever page numbers change, you have to this thing. This is in the Harvard style. As I said, it says New England Journal of Medicine. Now I'll give you one clue here. If you look at some journals like British Medical Journal, I think before 1997, it was BR Med J. So Br Med J. It went as British Medical Journal. So before 1997, if you are citing articles from before 1997, you will write it as Br Med J. After 1997, you will cite it changed from British Medical Journal became BMJ. So any paper from British Medical Journal which is being cited now will be cited as BMJ. The abbreviation is BMJ. It is not BR space MED space J. Okay. So you have to use the abbreviation which was approved at that particular time. So Vancouver System, this is how you will write it correctly like this, and then put the brackets within parenthesis, and then you put the full stop. This is the correct way of doing it. But many journals and others also, we tend to change the thing. This is a style requirement. So generally you can put it as superscript. You can put it within square brackets. It all depends on the style of the journal or thesis. But generally in Vancouver format, this is how the formatting is done. It doesn't matter how you do it as long as you follow a particular style. Okay. So titles should be abbreviated according to the style used in Medline. So please go to National Library of Medicine, PubMed, go to PubMed. There you will go to journals database. In journals database, you will be able to get the abbreviation. In case you do not have the abbreviation or that journal is not indexed in Medline or any of the new, right, just write the full name of the journal. Okay. Right. So I told you about this. Now, sometimes you get confused. No? Should I put this thing in superscript after the full stop or before the full stop? Generally, if you look at BMJ, Lancet, all these places, they write it like this. That is, you put the full stop and then it is outside. Okay. So again, I told you this is a style requirement. Please look at the individual journals. So common mistakes. Yeah, I'll be finishing in 5 minutes. First is common mistakes made is there are missing references. What do I mean by missing references? You have cited in the text. You have said something and put a number 6. But there is no 6 in your list. You have forgotten to list that reference. Okay. So when somebody is searching for it, that reference doesn't. So these are called missing references. Another common thing is spelling. In your list of references, spelling of names, of journals, of anything that can be spelled is wrong. So please check your spelling. There is something called empty reference. Now what happens is, supposing I am writing a paper and I am not able to get any of the original paper. So I am just writing from this review article and I am citing the papers which are listed in that review article, but actually I have not read it. I am citing this. I am citing the paper doesn't contain the original references, but refers to work of others which contain original research. You get what I'm saying? So I have not read any of the original research, but I have read only these references, and I am writing this references of those fellows without actually having read it. These are called empty references. Okay, when we should be writing the proper original references after reading it, but we have not listed it. The other one is called ghost references. Ghost references means these references are present in the list, but it cannot be traced or do not exist. You won't believe it. It is very common because again, the same thing. I am reading somebody else's paper, picking out a reference from his paper without bothering to get the original paper. So sometimes that paper has been cited so many times, all wrong. the year is not there or the volume is different or some, you simply can't trace it. That is called a ghost reference. Duplicate reference is the same reference is listed twice. Okay, because you have forgotten that it is already these duplicate references and things are common, especially when you are doing it manually, and then you are not consistent. So missing references, empty references, ghost references, duplicate references, please try to avoid. So as I said, consistency and accuracy are the hallmarks of referencing. Please, you can download this Citing Medicine, which is an NLM style guide for authors, editors. It has been updated August 5th to 2020. Just put Citing Medicine NLM style guide. It's about 13.5 MB, I think. You can download the thing. It's a PDF thing. You can download it. It's free and use it for your referencing. So some people will ask, how many of my own references should I cite? Because a citation index and things like that. So use whatever you think is needed. Don't unnecessarily go on citing yourself. Then if you are reproducing a table or figure from your own paper also, you will need to get permission from the journals, because this is a copyright issue. Okay, so if you are reproducing from your own paper also, you will need to get permission from the paper. They will generally give from the journal, they will generally give, because it is a thesis. You need to bother about every colon, semicolon, space, etc. Everything counts. You need to be really very careful. And then how current should references be? I said about 1/3 should be current references in the last 5 years. After how many should you put et al? Actually, you are expected to list all the authors. Of course, if a paper has 150 authors, you can't put all of them. But generally, you are expected to list all. But in the Vancouver format, they usually, you can have it 3 or 6 depending again on the journal. Thesis, we usually say 6 authors. For many journals, they say after 3, you can say et al. Now they also accept and other. Okay, so 3 or 6. In a thesis, I would say 6 is good, but it again depends on your institution. So 3 or 6 is good for thesis. Spacing, this again I told you. Should we have references in the summary? No. Summary, you are not going to write anything new. Summary is something which you have already written before. So no references if you are writing the summary. Please don't do that. Summary and conclusion should not have any references. So is there an easy way out? Yes, please go to this International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, ICMJE. You can go to their website and you will get a link to Citing Medicine. Then you will be able to get the referencing from them. These journals which follow the ICMJE guidelines will accept papers if the references are in Vancouver format. This is for your thesis. If you're writing a paper out of it, this I have already told you about it. It contains all the journals. Even for a single journal article, there are 75 variations which are there. So that is why I'm not going into the details. If for your thesis, you are allowed to choose the Vancouver format, because most of the journals follow that. Now, this is my last slide. What are bibliographic tools? Many of you are familiar with these, because using these bibliographic tools, you can compile comprehensive lists of existing literature on a topic. And with this, you can group entries, then you can search them, you can manipulate parameters and all that. In H1 we have had sessions on, I think, Zotero we have had. We can have more if you want. So a lot of software are there. Some are free. Mendeley is free. Zotero is free. Some are paid. This Citavi, I think, is paid. A reference manager is paid. So you have paid as well as free software. I would suggest you choose one and become, proficient in one. That is the best thing which you can do. Otherwise, there's not much to choose. There are of course, depending on your requirements, you can choose, but basically try to select one and use that. So I'm concluding by saying that referencing is an important skill. All of you will know. And scientific writing demands expertise in this area. Students should be taught its principles. Use bibliographic software. I think we can't get away from without using it. Now, if anyone is doing it manually for a thesis, I think they are, it's ridiculous. And then practice makes one proficient. Thank you very much. I think you, I like this proverb very much. A journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step. And I think all of you have taken this single step and started your journey towards writing a better thesis or becoming better guides to guide your student with to write better. Thank you. I have enjoyed taking this topic. I hope you too enjoyed it with me. I am open for questions, please. Yes. So someone wanted to know, are there any rules for translating questionnaire into the vernacular? I'm not sure whether there are any rules, but I know that when you translate anything into vernacular, you have to also back translate. So I don't know any rules about this translating. I don't know. Rituparna, do you know whether there are any rules about translating questionnaires into vernacular?
Not rules, ma'am. I think they should first check whether it is copyrighted or not. Some of the questionnaires, they don't allow others to translate when it is copyrighted. So they have to check all these things before they start change. And finally, the validation part.
Okay, thank you. The other question is how to arrange references while writing an article thesis and how to rearrange the reference after finishing the article thesis. So that's why I'm saying, see now, no one should do things manually because the bibliographic tools are there. It's not very difficult to learn. I would suggest there is a, this QMed is giving, I think, some what shall I say, workshops on how to use Mendeley. So I would suggest please go and do those workshops, QMed workshops, because they are really very good. And Mendeley is free. You can use that, I think up to some 3 GB or 2 GB is free. So you can use that. So my thing is, please don't do it manually, because in your thesis, if you are having 60 or 70 references, you are bound to make a lot of mistakes. And using a bibliographic tool makes it much more easier. So why should you harass yourself? That is what I would this thing. Any future workshop for writing manuscript? No, I don't. I don't know unless our research department wants to have something for writing manuscript. In case you want, you can write in to me. Ma'am, reference will be included in plagiarism check or not? No. It depends on which tool you are using. Rituparna, can you answer this question?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, we are using plagiarism checking. Then we are excluding the bibliography or referencing part. We are excluding it.
Yeah, okay. Then, yeah, so that's, can we include new studies in a discussion? Can we include new study? Yes, of course you can. In a discussion, you can introduce new studies. Why not? That is the idea, no? Because in your review of literature, you have not expected something. And then when you have finished it, when you find your studies, you want to use some new studies for comparison, go ahead. There is no harm in doing that. Okay, somebody wanted the meeting, yeah. So as I said in the beginning, we have a YouTube channel, and maybe in another week or so, we'll put it up, Ames Bhubaneswar YouTube channel. Otherwise, send me an email to geetabatman@gmail.com and I will give you the links. Repeat the course on QMed. Okay, repeat the course on QMed and how to access it. See, QMed is a is a website where Vasumati Sri Ganesh, she's a librarian, and she teaches people how to do a literature search. This is a very well done kind of. She has a course, and it's not very expensive. In Ames Bhubaneswar, we have actually got a license for all our faculty as well as our residents, and they can access it free. So QMed, please put QMed Vasumati Sri Ganesh. You'll probably get the website. You can go there and you can see. And I think she has given her email address. You can write to her and she'll be able to tell you. Right. Any other questions, please? I think I have answered everything. Yeah. Any other questions? Anything else? If anyone wants to ask anything, please feel free. Okay, otherwise then thank you very much. We've had very interesting 3 weeks and wish you all the very best. Thank you.